A pair of red-hot videos for you tonight. The first one is courtesy of a completely derailed and demented Joe Scarborough on a little-watched cable network. Here's what he said President Trump would do if reelected to the presidency.
He will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute, drive from the country. Just look at his past.
Yeah, just look at his past. We're hoping maybe he'd drive Barbara Streisand from the country. She promised last time and she didn't leave. She promised again this time. We're keeping our fingers crossed as for driving people from the country. He was president for 4 years. I don't know if these guys noticed that, but did he execute or imprison any of his enemies? At the same time, they're attempting to imprison all of their political enemies. No sense of irony. MSDNC, of course, has a knack for this sort of thing. Talking out of both sides of their mouths. Here's Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman from New York, also blasting Trump's rhetoric. This is almost hilarious. While calling for President Trump to be eliminated just seconds later. You don't have to make it up. They'd do it for us.
But his rhetoric is really getting dangerous, more and more dangerous. And we saw what happened on January 6th when he uses inflammatory rhetoric. That man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Trump derangement syndrome at its most usual, I suppose. It's pretty amazing stuff. Now, Jason, the rhetoric, I know of conservatives were using rhetoric like this and saying Joe Biden should be eliminated and he's going to jail, which they're trying to do literally, and execute his political enemies. I think that might be frowned upon by the mainstream media.
I'm not so sure. I would say, first of all, Trump told Glenn Beck that he planned to lock up his political enemies. He's already talked about pausing,
give me the quote on that.
Pausing the Constitution. He's also said, and we all know that they're trying to give the executive branch, if he is elected, more power under the unitary presidential theory. He also called his opponents vermin. And we know when you start dehumanizing people, that's usually a step toward violence. When you start calling people vermin or pests.
What about lying, dog-faced pony soldier?
How about deplorable?
What about deplorable?
How about trying to jail all your political enemies and having the FBI raid your political enemies?
Deplorable.
And having the news media.
What about being called racist or
He doesn't stop. He just keeps going.
He calls people racist all the time. He called Tish James racist with no evidence.
Democrats call
no evidence.
Conservatives racist, and Democrats
I'd love to hear
call
that.
us fascist.
What do you know about Tish James being racist?
I'm going to have to go through and fact check one by one.
Sure. But tell me where Tish James has been racist.
Told Glenn Beck, and I asked for a quote. You didn't provide me the quote.
Well, tell me where Tish James has been racist. I'm curious.
I'm not Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, where Trump has been racist because a lot of people have called him racist.
Eliminating Donald Trump. And the thing is, they're trying to do this through lawfare.
Which is what we're talking about today.
Well, this is what they're doing. It's why they've moved forward with these cases, which, of course, the judges at this point have ruled in states like Michigan and Minnesota, for example. They want him off the ballot. They're going to do everything they can to not let the American people decide who the president is, but to use the Department of Justice, to use these overzealous prosecutors to throw Donald Trump in jail and not allow him to run.
Well, the Colorado case was brought by 4 Republicans.
That's
not.
great.
Those aren't Democrats.
That's great. Now he's going
the case to take him off the ballot.
There's a member of Congress saying that the former president of the United States should be eliminated, and now we're talking about Glenn Beck.
Yeah, Representative Goldman must be hanging out with Liz Cheney these days. We haven't heard a lot from her, but remember how she vowed that Trump would never set foot in the Oval Office again? She would make this her mission. We know she's got to be working behind the scenes somewhere, and certainly with the Democrats and the rhinos of the Republican Party. But it's just ridiculous because you really look at this, and the reason I think Trump has as much support as he does, and the fact that it's growing as much as it is there's a large portion of the country that is fearful of what's going to happen if we see another 4 years of Joe Biden or another Democrat, and how they will no longer have a voice here in this country, and it's going to get a lot worse than it currently is it has been over the last few years. And so Trump's support is going to continue to grow, and TDS is alive and well, folks.